Hello everyone, welcome to this podcast. I'm Sadhvi Pandey, a first year MBA student at XLRI Delhi-NCR. Today, we have amongst us Mr. Bhavik Shah, who is a versatile, globally attuned business leader with over 2 decades of experience spanning finance, operations, audit, and banking. Currently, he is the global finance and operations leader of Metro Telworks. Bringing a rare 360-degree perspective, he blends analytical rigor with a strong people-first leadership approach. Bhavik has successfully established and scaled operations across more than 20 countries in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and the Americas, navigating complex regulatory environments and multicultural teams with ease. Known for his solution oriented mindset and strategic foresight, he excels at driving global expansion, operational efficiency, and stakeholder alignment in high growth dynamic markets, making him a valuable voice in discussions on scale, resilience, and leadership across borders. We once again welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So, if you'd like, shall we begin with this podcast and some questions?
Yeah, sure. I would love to answer.
Sure, sir. So, sir, as we know that you have had a career spanning more than 20 years, and it has been something moving from audit to business leadership. So, what has your journey taught you about risk?
So when you say risk, it's very subjective, right? Especially when you are starting your career, when you are an auditor, and then gradually when you step into the corporate world, the meaning of the risk changes. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes then it takes a corporate
Yes.
aspect of it, quite a lot of it actually. So, and it also matters a lot about how your upbringing has been. So it's not a standalone aspect, I would say, risk. It also brings in as to how you have tackled your youth and your personal challenges until you reach a stage wherein people are looking up to you. So personally, my childhood was such that when I stepped into the corporate world, risk-taking ability, I would say, was I was thrown into it. So there was no room for me to think about should I take this risk or not. Okay, so when I did my CA, when I cleared it, when I got job as a banker with ICICI Bank and all, it was altogether a different approach, right? And then when I joined the current Metro Telworks, also I joined in Jakarta. So again, the risk was different. So yeah, to answer your question, risk is very subjective. It depends on what you want in future. There are calculative ones, and then there are leap of faiths. At the end of it, you have to balance it out. So basically, you have to see what you want in long term. Are you ready to let go some of your, let's say, close, I would say, associations?
Yes.
That's a personal risk. When it comes to corporate world, there are lots of things at play. So it's a calculated decision. There are excels, there are models. So that is more easier, I would say, in a corporate world to take risks rather than when you are starting your career. So yeah, I think I have gone through that whole phase, fortunately, that when I was an auditor, my risk-taking ability was something else because I was completely at a different side of the table. I was judging people, right? I was going to a company and I was like an auditor. So there was no risk, to be very honest. Then I became a banker, and then the risk was like, it was not mine. I was working with ICICI Bank, and then it was all laid. The SOPs were laid, the processes were laid. So practically there was no risk at all. All that matters was you have to do things by the book and go ahead. The majority of the thing that happened, and when I understood actually the meaning of the risk, was when I joined Metro Telworks. When I went to Jakarta for the first time in 2008, unexplored territory, unexplored profile. And then when I stayed there for 2 years, I'm talking about the age when mobiles were not this easy. We were on Blackberries then. So those risks, and moving forward, I think the risk that we have taken to expand in 20 countries, where to go, how to expand, how to operate, people focused. So yeah, those risks quite different. So I would say at every stage of your life, it matters about how you are perceiving the risk, and that's what defines it.
Definitely, sir. Taking on from a conversation that I think you have been a part of an organization when you started, and today you are leading an organization. So you have seen risk from both the audit lens and the operational lens. As you have taken Metro Telworks across multiple geographies, scaling operations across 20 countries. So my next question would be, what's the most challenging aspect of global expansion that leaders usually underestimate?
Empathy, I would say, because why I'm saying it is when we expanded into all these countries, we were one country operation. We started with India, we were one country, around 50 people on board. And then we expanded in 2008 onwards. We expanded to emerging markets, that was mainly Southeast Asia then, which was a very tricky geography at that point of time. When I say Southeast Asia, I'm talking about Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Bangladesh, Singapore. So all these countries, when you go out and expand, no, what people are missing, and no offense to anybody or no personal judgment here, but people miss empathy, because when you go out and work in a different country, you have to be a local.
Yes.
That's the main thing that everybody should know. One, unfortunately, it's not happening, or it's happening very rarely. The moment you do that, what you do is you are becoming a family. They start seeing you as somebody who is their own, and that's the first step. I think that is what we are missing. Second is, I think people are too much focused on what they are doing there. Of course, it should be the end goal, but at the end of it, process and the journey
Right.
matters a lot about how you want to achieve your end goals in their respective geographies. So you have to be, again, I think it circles down to empathy itself, about local culture, local people, local traditions, local processes, local regulations and organizations. So at the end of it, when we are expanding globally, when anybody is, I think that's the one thing that people should look out for: empathy towards the local culture.
All right, sir. Having been discussed that this empathy is something that global leaders miss when they are expanding, what do you think is something that India-centric leaders often miss? Something that you have taken on from the global market expansion that you have been a part of?
So again, I think more or less the same thing. But when we say India-centric leaders who are going to expand or going globally, is that what you mean, right?
Yes, sir.
I think comparison,
All right.
that should not be there, because we as in India are quite more dynamic, quite large, quite rich in resources, both
Right.
human and non-human. Uh, our culture also, our upbringing also is quite different from what other countries have. So if we are India centric and if we are going out, I think we should not compare. First of all, we should just go to a blank slate. We
Right.
should just start afresh, and we should not think that we are a 5,000 or 1,000 crore company in India with 1,000 people. No, doesn't matter, because when you are starting afresh in a new geography, it's afresh. So yeah, that is one of the thing I think we should take care of.
All right, sir. Sure.
You got coffee? Thank you very much.
Okay.
No, I don't want sugar. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I remove this?
Yeah. I'm good.
Farya took the photos.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's what I was saying. The comparison should not be there. When you are going out, you're going out afresh and you are starting blank slate. So yeah.
Sure, sir. So my next question would be, what global expansion decision taught you that local logic Do you think that local logic often beats global best practices?
I don't think so, because see, as I said, the process does not change, right?
Yes.
Even if I'm working in India or if I'm working outside India, the process is still remains same. The approach changes. Yeah.
Right.
So I think the biggest point or the most important point that we have taken care of is our approach. So while duplicating the processes, duplicating the so-called to-dos, the approach needs to be different with each of the geographies that we went in, whether it's a global expansion or whether you are planning to expand globally or you are just starting. It doesn't matter. I think your approach should be tailor made to your end goal and to the country that you are going to.
All right.
That's more or less, I think, matters when it's a global expansion here.
Sure, sir. So I think one thing that we are learning in our MBA classes, and also something that we have heard, is that when you operate across many markets, complexity is not just cultural that comes with its people or like what is happening at that place, rather it's regulatory too. How do finance and operations leaders adapt decision making across diverse regulatory environments?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting and very critical aspect actually for expansion, and I have faced it, I have gone through it personally, so I know how. See, as I said, I think all of it boils down to the same thing, that's starting afresh. So
Right.
for me personally, and I would speak for myself, is that what I have learned is that first of all, you should be aware about it, right? What regulatory aspects. In fact, my role was that. So when we were setting up a new shop in any of the country, my role was to basically evaluate whether first of all we can or we cannot. And when I say we can or cannot, it means that it it is linked to all of these aspects: the regulatory aspects, the local labor laws, the central banks, the government dynamics, the geopolitical dynamics. So quite a lot of factors which contributed in like having the diligence reports done as to whether we should start a shop there or not. So when I say shop, of course it's a parlance, but it's a company, right? So uh, it becomes very important to engage locals,
Right.
right? One of the mistakes in my early days I made was that I was relying on myself. So when I
All
started, I was trying to do everything on my own. I was trying to find out things. Google was not this good. I'm talking about
right.
things back in 2008, 9, 10. So gradually then we learned from our mistakes that okay, what we need to do is we need to rely on local resources, local knowledge, local expertise. So, and that's what people miss, that it's an investment. I would say it's not a cost. So when you
Okay.
are expanding, the first and foremost thing is that you should invest in the knowledge.
All
So
right.
you should meet local, whether it be lawyers or consultants or auditors or banks or even vendors and suppliers. You should meet and you should understand how the country or the geography works,
Right.
and that will give you a clear idea about building up the organization structure, building up the processes, setting up your goals, in fact setting up the timelines to achieve those goals, forcing the bottlenecks. So all of these, I think, boils down to this thing: to have right team, right consultants, and right local support in place. So I think, yeah, that matters a lot.
Okay, sir. Moving ahead, as we have just talked about like the growth of companies, I think one thing that is there that when companies grow, scale can sometimes slow decision making. How do leaders like you stay agile while operating at scale?
So we are a service industry, right? We are into
Yes.
service industry. So we are a people centered organization. Our raw material is manpower, right? So scaling any which ways is a huge task, is a mammoth task, because irrespective of the business that you have, and if you want to deliver that business uh, in good ways, in the expected ways, you'll have to have the proper organization in place. So for us, I think scaling has always linked, or scaling has always gone hand in hand with having a proper org chart in place.
All right.
So that is one of the most critical aspect that I take care of. And I also, we have kind of created a DNA in the organization wherein we see that, okay, if we want to go ahead and if we want to scale in any matter, whether it's a new business offering, new country, new vertical, or whatsoever, first and foremost we should decide that are we equipped. When I say equipped, of course, with manpower, apt manpower, right? And then the second most aspect that we have seen is identifying the resources which are already there. So in scaling up, I would say, and again, of course, this is a personal feedback and personal experience, is that we have seen that when you want to scale and when you want to achieve scale in certain timelines that you have set for the organization as a whole, it matters a lot to get the right people. But then when you go out looking out for those people, it becomes really difficult, first of all, to get them, then to integrate them into the organization and have them understand the DNA of the organization. And then if that happens successfully, then you start working on achieving the scale that you have planned, right? So what we have always figured and what we have implemented is that identify the resources in house. Okay, lateral movement, lateral growth, identify who is hungry to grow, whether they are okay to do multiple roles, whether they are okay to explore. So I think that matters a lot. So, and as I said, that's the reason that I say that I have become a people's person, because in a service industry you have to have this thing in mind if you want to scale. Otherwise it's really difficult, because see, it's kind of a paradox, because when you are a service industry people focused, we are hearing and people do come and say that, okay, sooner or later AIs will take the job. But then we say that, okay, AI can only take over the processes. AI can never take over the people who are doing it, right? So we tell people that if we want to scale at a certain level, let's get the processes which are redundant, which are taking our more time, shift it to automation, and we as people start taking more decisions and more risks which can help us to scale. You know, processes will follow. It's a blessing in disguise, in fact, that if AI is taking over the processes, I get more people who can be identified as leaders or who can be identified as managers and who can help me scale more by envisioning or by trusting our processes. So I think that that's a cycle that we follow.
Sure, sir. So, how do you balance financial discipline with growth ambition in high growth markets that you have been a part of or what you're planning on?
It must. I think I would say there is no compromise on it. There
Right.
should not be, because see, at the end of it, whatever we all are doing, right, it's for creating value and wealth for the stakeholders, right? And at the end of it, if the corporate governance is not in place, financial discipline is not there, it all boils down to zero. So first and foremost, yeah, I think that's, there is no negotiation on it. There should not be any. That is my personal view. In fact, we as a Metro Telworks itself, we have Big Four doing our consolidated audit since past 15-20 years, and it's a huge task, okay, to get the consolidated audit done for all these 16-17 country operations. But there's no easy way out, right? If you are financially disciplined, and when I say financially disciplined, I am mostly talking about corporate governance, because rest all evolves. The processes, the liquidities, the bankings, the cash leverage and all, everything evolves with the scale, with the operations, with the business growing, right? But at the end of it, what matters is how disciplined you are with respect to what you are reporting, how good you are in your reporting practices and processes, how transparent you are, how open you are to your bankers or the stakeholders or the lenders or the equity partners, whosoever. So I think, yeah, there is no shortcut to it. Financial discipline is must, and it has nothing to do either you are a 50 crore, 500 crore, 50,000 crore. It doesn't matter. because at the end of it, that's what matters, right? That's what, where it's, if it's a listed company, it's all for individual shareholders. If it is
Yes.
a closely held, it is still for the stakeholders. So yeah, there is no way out of it.
All right, sir. Sir, as we have just discussed, and something that you have put emphasis on, that processes fall into place and they are critical for organization when it talks about growth. But ultimately, it's people who make global businesses work. What leadership skills become critical when managing multicultural, multi-geography teams?
I think openness, first of all,
All right.
approach, I would say openness, as in, see, I have seen in my team also and overall also, and with my personal experience, let's talk about myself, forget about everything else or everybody else. I think what I have seen or experienced is that I was managing everything on my own. We were scaling up, the team was
Right.
being built. So I can say what I see in somebody who, if we want to expand or if we want to scale or if we want to operate in multi-country operations, right? First of all, I think it's openness. As I said, it has to be a, like a quality of, okay, I want to do it. No offense to any generation, but what I have been seeing in past 7, 8 years, 10 years is that people are not ready to take the risk. They are afraid of unknown. They are, and it's a paradox again, because now the world is on your palm. You can Google everything, you know everything, you can read anything and everything about, whatever you want to. With this, I think it's very strange that rather than moving towards creating good leaders or creating good people who can help such organizations scale, it's going the other way around. People are becoming closer and closer.
Right.
So I would say, first of all, it's the openness, the approach to it, and there should not be any fear of taking accountabilities. I have seen that people are now not ready to take the accountabilities. They want to be more focused on the process oriented jobs, the jobs which are giving them tangible results. But if you want to expand globally, if you want to scale, if you want to grow individually, or if you want to grow a company, and when we talk about people or the leaders that can help, I think they have to be open themselves first to lead an organization or a team. They have to be accountable for what their decisions are. They have to take responsibility. You have to give that bandwidth to your team also, for example, that they are open to take risks and make mistakes. If you give them that backhand, they will grow, and with them, I think organization will grow. But at the end of it, one should be open, one should ask, one should be curious, one should go out and see actually that, okay, if I'll make mistake, it's fine, but what is there in it for organization, for me? Because it's unknown is crazy, right? We
Right.
all are afraid of it, but at the end of it, it's the place where one needs to be. So yeah, I would say the openness, the curiosity, the proactiveness, the capability to take accountabilities of your task, of your actions, and yeah, I think that's more or less about it.
Sure, sir. As we know that organizing, in your words, organizational culture is very important and it comes from its people. So I think moving ahead, you have been a part of, let's say, the finance domain. And when we as students, we have heard, or something that we are following is that in finance, we are trained to trust the numbers. But numbers don't always capture the context or what's behind them. What leadership muscle, what do you think, becomes most critical when financial data is perfect but cultural context isn't?
Yeah, I mean, see, there is no set answer to it. In fact, it's a very subjective thing to answer. Financials will always show you how the company is doing.
Right.
Now I think it's good that with the evolution that has happened with respect to the information reporting, there are quite a few areas that are being covered now with respect to ESG, CSG, split of employees, how are employees placed, etc. So at least if you go through a financial report, let's say audit report or an annual report, you at least get an idea about what the company is doing, how scaled it is, how huge it is, right? All these things you can,
Right.
tangibles. Culture is something which you can only experience, right? So I would say that those two are very different uh, key indicators. Numbers cannot, financials cannot, never will uh, depict or project the culture that is being followed. But you know what happens is, when you look at a company, when you look at the vintage, when you look at financials, the way that they have grown, the way that they have scaled, I think you can get a sense that okay, without the culture the growth is not possible,
Right.
right? There is no second thought about it. The growth can happen, but it can only and only happen if there is a culture in the organization, if there is a DNA of an organization which is being followed. If people are, for example, if there is a company and it's growing,
Right.
it can grow, let's say X, but it is growing at Y. I would say the main reason is that people are not getting used to the DNA of the whole organization. So people
Okay.
come, people leave. More the iterations, more is the, you have to reinvent the wheels. The lots of time the management, the focus of the management or the bandwidth of the management goes into these scenarios. So it's all linked. If a company is growing good, if things are good, if you see that okay, they are scaling up fast, they are attracting investors, they are attracting employees, then I think they are doing something right, correct? And that
Yes.
will give you some kind of green flag about the culture. But it's something that you cannot and will not be able to straight away figure out from financials. No, you have to deep dive.
Sure, sir. So I think that being part of a dynamic business industry, how do you as a leader define successful leadership in volatile or uncertain environments?
Hmm. I would say there is no definition of a successful leader. Okay?
Sure.
Because why? It's not. I would say it's not a to do. It's a process.
Right.
Leader is not created. Like I'm not a leader. I am always in the process of being a leader.
Right.
Right? I was a certain kind of leader. Now I'm a certain other kind of leader. The moment you are put in a place wherein you are handling a team, doesn't matter 1, 10,000, you become a leader,
Right.
right? So there is no end point to being a leader is, right? One. Second, when you say how in current scenario, the unpredictable scenarios, a leader should, I think that's the way that it should be seen. How fast and how aptly a leader is evolving. That is one very important thing that
Sure.
comes out as to how a leader can survive in such challenging scenarios that we are facing currently. Is that how evolving he himself is or she is in that scenario? Plus, whether he is working or she is working on creating leaders,
Right.
right? Because that is a very critical aspect of
Right.
survival of an organization and survival of self. The moment you go into that insecurity, saying that okay, if I'll create a leader, somebody will take my job, you are reaching a dead end. Organization is reaching a dead end. So if you want to survive in such dynamic and critical and unpredictable scenarios, I think you have to evolve. Second, you have to create leaders. Third, you have to give space to people to take your place. So the moment you do that, the way opens for everybody and everybody learns. The more leaders are there, it becomes easier to survive in such challenging scenarios, rather than fighting everything on your own and telling yourself that you are a leader and that's why you're fighting. It will bring you down.
True.
So you have to have a team of leaders to fight these scenarios.
Definitely, sir. As a team and leaders coming together,
Yeah.
that is something that will help any organization grow. So I think one question I would like to ask for our students and young professionals who are listening today: how should MBAs prepare for financial roles that go beyond spreadsheets?
So the moment you say go beyond the spreadsheet, the role is not financial. Right? I personally feel, and I tell people, in fact my team also, see, it's whether you say it's fortunate or unfortunate, I would leave it to you, but finance is a support role.
All right.
First and foremost, one should understand, if you are going into that field, is that you are a support role. And people think that support roles are not important. They are not, they compare themselves with sales or marketing or production or whatsoever, who are client facing, who are
Right.
more, let's say, rewarded, whatsoever reason. But if you want to be successful in, let's say, we are talking about financial field,
Right.
I would say you have to first of all accept that you are sitting on humongous data that is being created by everybody else in the organization. So you are support, but you are very critical support, first of all. Second, if you want to evolve as a finance professional, you have to have, you have to know, or you have to take that initiative to understand the operations.
Okay.
Because when things come to you, us, for example, finance people, why we are saying this is a very wrong analogy. When I also feel, when I tell people that I'm a chartered accountant and they straight away say that, okay, you are a spreadsheet person, I would say, no,
Right.
I am not a spreadsheet person. I am an analytical person. Okay. The
Right.
moment you are going into the finance, you are becoming an analytical person. How you analyze is spreadsheets or models or whatsoever, but that is just a medium. You have the ability to analyze which, let's say, for example, a CEO has a vision, but a CEO never has a 360-degree vision of an organization. CTO or COO, they do not have a 360-degree vision that you have. You exactly know where the penny is coming from. You exactly know where the penny is going to. You exactly know that in past 6 months what has happened, how things have evolved, what the trends are. So I think it's the other way around, whether you are support or not, but you are a very strong support. So if you are going into a field, my first and foremost advice to all finance professionals is that stop considering yourself as a mere support function. You are a support function, but you are a very important function of the organization. Organization cannot work if you guys
Right.
are not creating that financial discipline, if you are not creating the processes, if you are not pushing people to follow them, if you are not doing analytics. You are basically something which is bringing everything to a proper end. People are there selling, people are there doing productions, people are there doing XYZ things, but at the end of it, everything converts to money. And we are the custodians, right? We are the custodians of the money. So we should see ourselves as a very important and very critical part of any organization, irrespective of the size and scale. So I think that's my one of the advice that I would give. Don't bog. See, and one very practical and one very open advice is that our field is a very slow field. Okay. People get time in being recognized. Let me be very honest. That sometimes brings the frustration. Okay. That sometimes makes people to hide themselves behind the spreadsheets. But that's why I say, the more you know the operations, more you learn the operations, more you go out and uh, deal with the internal customers of your own organization, the more comfortable they feel, the more growth prospects you have. So change the narrative. People see finance as a narrative that finance is always burdening us, finance is always putting penalties, finance is always asking things, this, that, blah, blah, blah. No, turn the narrative.
Right.
Go to them, talk to them, be their friend, understand the businesses, their challenges, and then they will start sharing things with you that as a finance person will be really important. And this is what I have done. This is why I am here. So yeah, that's my very, very transparent advice to you guys.
Definitely, sir. I think this answer would resonate with all the budding financiers at XLRI, and that yes, that they are the biggest custodians of
Yeah.
the company's biggest asset, that is money, but they are much more than that with the skills
Yeah,
that they
because
have.
just adding to it, see, only being custodians will never help you,
Right.
right? Because then nobody will notice you. People will notice you only when you are showing that okay, you are custodian of some data and how you are helping them, how you are using that data to bring organization to certain level, to help them achieve or avoid, to help them take decisions. The moment you start gelling with this
Right.
data, you go and gel with the operations, gel with the strategic management, everybody, they would know that okay, the custodian is value adding.
Right.
Otherwise, you just keep sitting on data, doing spreadsheet analysis, sending reports. You are not going to grow. Let me be very
Right.
honest.
Sure, sir. So I think one last question that
Yeah.
I would like to ask is, what is something that you have taken on from your personal life or from your family that you have imbibed in your professional life and that has helped you to grow?
I think openness, as I said, where we started, because that's how my career has been. Like whether it be being a chartered accountant when I was doing it, or whether it was my first job that I took with ICICI Bank, it has always been not being afraid of going into the unknown. I think that has been and that has what helped me. And other most important thing that has helped me is uh, the habit that I think it got cultivated with quite a lot of aspects. But one was reading, the second was observing. So when you observe, when you read, when you are around, I think mindfulness is something that helped me a lot, because
Right.
when you are here, you are observing things, you are aware of your surroundings, you are aware of what you are doing. I think that has helped me to be focused on what I was doing while we were growing. And that's what I tell to my team also, that when you're working on something, you have to be mindful. And it applies both ways, when you are in or at work and when you're not. When you are with family, please be mindful about that,
Right.
about that time, about that scenario. I'm not saying that don't work after 8 or go to office, switch off your phones. No, be mindful about things. The more mindful you are, things will change. The problems will not come to your home, the problems will be left back at the office, because then you'll be mindful about the to do's of the next day. And then you will know that okay, I'm going home, I'll have to come back tomorrow and start here and achieve this. So you are at peace. Most of the things what young professionals they fail to do is that they are not organized. So
Okay.
I think for me what has helped is that being mindful of what I need to do, what I did
Right.
during the day, what I have to do in, let's say, a week or a day or a month. So all these things, no, I'm not saying be a padaku, have a journal and make excels. No, at least be mindful about what all needs to be done, and rest all will fall in place. I think that has helped me, and that is, I think, that will help each professional if they want to go.
Sure, sir. I think all that you have said is something that will help any and all of our listeners who will be listening to
I
our
hope.
podcast. So I think we can wrap this up. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I'm good. If this helps, if you want to know anything else, I'm around.
Sure,
Feel
sir.
free.
Definitely, I'll be here and I'll definitely follow you for more Q&A.
No worries.
So
Or if any of your members, any of your team members,
yes, sir.
even
Surely.
if after you look this podcast and if you have anything, you can get in touch with me on
Sure,
LinkedIn. I'm
sir.
always available. The knowledge is more good when you share.
Sure. Right, sir. Absolutely. So I think we can wrap this up. And
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank
it has
you.
been insightful and enriching, and definitely all that you have shared will help everyone who will listen to this. Thank you so much. sir.
Right.
It has been
Thank
a
you
delight
very much
to have
for
you
having
here.
me.
Thank
Thank you
you,
guys.
sir.